I'm Emma, a 32-year-old financial advisor in Boston. For 6 years, I poured every spare dollar into my dream of owning property, a goal that symbolized not just financial independence, but a reclaiming of my own path. Last spring, I purchased a duplex, a milestone I kept hidden from my family, a choice that proved more significant than I could have imagined. At a Sunday family dinner, I overheard my parents and brother Kevin plotting to move his family into my new home rent-free, without a single word to me. That moment sparked a confrontation that unraveled decades of family expectations, forcing me to set boundaries and redefine what family means. Growing up in a close-knit family, I was raised with the mantra that family comes first. My parents, Martha and Frank, were loving, but held a clear bias toward my older brother, Kevin, now 36. Kevin was the charismatic one, always armed with a quick joke or story. But his charm came with a price: chronic financial irresponsibility. By his mid-20s, he'd racked up credit card debt on flashy purchases like a motorcycle and lavish vacations. By 30, he'd borrowed heavily from our parents for a business that collapsed in months. Each time the family rallied to his rescue, with me often expected to chip in, whether with money I'd saved or time spent babysitting his 3 children, Liam, 10, Sophie, 8, and Ethan, 5. 8 months ago, Kevin lost his marketing job in a company downsizing, leaving his wife Sarah's part-time teaching income stretched thin. Their landlord raised their rent, pushing them to the brink. Meanwhile, I'd been carving a different path. After earning my MBA 7 years ago, I landed a job at a respected Boston financial firm. The irony wasn't lost on me. I helped clients manage their wealth while my brother floundered. I lived modestly in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment, packed lunches daily, and avoided luxuries, funneling 30% of my income into savings. My goal was clear: own property, build security, and break free from the family's cycle of dependency. When I hit my savings target, I researched real estate and settled on a duplex, a smart investment where I could live in one unit and rent the other to cover most of the mortgage. The duplex, a sturdy brick building in a quiet neighborhood 20 minutes from downtown, was love at first sight. Its 2 units, each with 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, a cozy living room, and a functional kitchen, felt like a canvas for my future. The small backyard, shaded by a maple tree, promised peaceful evenings. The property needed minor updates but was structurally sound and within my budget. Working with a real estate agent, I navigated the purchase process alone, a mix of excitement and nerves bubbling as the closing date neared. I kept it secret from my family, partly to surprise them, but mostly to shield my milestone from Kevin's inevitable needs. The day I signed the papers and held the keys, standing alone in the empty duplex, I felt a surge of pride. This was mine, earned through years of discipline. I moved into 1 unit, spending a weekend with friends painting the walls in soft neutrals, laughing over pizza amid paint cans. I listed the 2nd unit for rent, calculating it would cover 60% of my mortgage. Everything was falling into place, until that fateful Sunday dinner at my parents' suburban home. I arrived early to help my mother with dinner, chopping vegetables while the aroma of pot roast filled the house. My father watched baseball in the living room, and I was mentally rehearsing how I'd share my news, champagne bottle ready for a toast. Then Kevin, Sarah, and their kids arrived, filling the house with chatter. As I worked in the kitchen, I overheard my parents, Kevin and Sarah, in my father's study, their voices low but audible through the thin wall. "It's the perfect solution," my father said. "Emma has extra space now." My mother added, "She always helps family. That's how we raised her." Kevin chimed in, "It'll be a relief for the kids' stability." Sarah suggested, "The boys can share a bedroom and Sophie can have the other. Their living room is bigger than ours, right?" My hands froze over the cutting board. They knew about my duplex, likely through a church friend, Mrs. Johnson, who'd seen me there, and had already planned for Kevin's family to move in rent-free without asking me. The presumption hit like a betrayal, erasing the years I'd sacrificed to afford this property. At dinner, I waited, heart pounding, to see how they'd broach it. My father cleared his throat. Emma, we found a solution to Kevin's housing problem. Your duplex is perfect timing. Sarah nodded. We'll be great neighbors, and the kids are thrilled to live near Aunt Emma. Liam piped up. Mom says I can get math help from you anytime. The table's eyes fixed on me, expecting my usual compliance. I forced a smile, unable to crush the kids' excitement, but inside, I was seething. They assumed my property was theirs to claim, ignoring my mortgage, my plans, my sacrifices. I stayed quiet, pushing food around my plate, but a line had been crossed. Driving home, memories flooded back, canceled vacations to loan Kevin money, weekends babysitting so he and Sarah could have date nights, my parents paying his tuition while I worked 2 jobs through college. I'd been the family's safety net, my own dreams sidelined. At my apartment, I resolved, this time, I'd put myself first. The next morning, over coffee, I listed every instance of Kevin's reliance on me. Unpaid loans, childcare, emotional labor. The pattern was undeniable. My friend Taylor, who'd helped paint the duplex, was outraged when I shared the story. Emma, this is your future. They can't expect you to subsidize their life. She was right. I decided to rent both units, maximizing income and distancing myself from family expectations. I hired Cornerstone Property Management, a reputable firm, and within days they lined up tenants. Michael and Lisa, a young couple working at a hospital, and Dr. Eleanor Wilson, a retired professor downsizing after her husband's passing. Both signed year-long leases at rates covering 75% of my mortgage, higher than I'd hoped. I found a modern 1-bedroom apartment near my office, cutting my commute and expenses. I moved in quietly, telling only Taylor and 2 close friends, swearing them to secrecy until the tenants were settled. My family's pressure intensified. Sarah sent Pinterest boards for their unit's decor. Kevin texted about moving truck costs, assuming I'd pay. My mother offered to measure for curtains. Each message reinforced their entitlement, and I deflected, citing paperwork or repairs to buy time. The confrontation came unexpectedly. My father called as I was leaving for the duplex to oversee tenant move-ins, saying they were heading there with breakfast and Kevin's boxes for a surprise. Panicked, I warned David, my property manager, and raced over. When I arrived, my parents' car and Kevin's minivan were parked outside. Dr. Wilson's moving truck pulled up early, and David was explaining to my confused family. My father insisted, "This is Emma's property, bought for family." I stepped forward, heart racing. Mom, Dad, Kevin, Sarah, I've rented both units. Dr. Wilson moves into Unit A today, and another couple into Unit B. Silence. Kevin exploded. "We gave notice. Where will we live?" Sarah cried. My mother gasped, and my father's face darkened. "You're being selfish, Emma," he said. "Family helps family." I stood firm. "You made plans without asking. This is my investment, and I have a mortgage to pay. I've always helped Kevin, but when has he sacrificed for me?" Kevin scoffed. "You've got no kids, no real responsibilities." His words ignited years of resentment. 6 years of saving, no vacations, 60-hour weeks, that's responsibility, Kevin. You expected to live rent-free, but who pays my mortgage? Michael and Lisa arrived, watching awkwardly as David ushered Dr. Wilson to her unit. My family left, hurt and angry, calling me disloyal. The silence that followed was crushing. My mother's daily texts stopped. My father's calls ceased. Guilt gnawed at me. Had I been too harsh? Taylor's support kept me grounded. You protected your future, Emma. Family doesn't mean sacrificing everything. The first rental checks arrived, covering most of my mortgage, a tangible reminder of my decision's wisdom. By week 3, I learned Kevin and Sarah found a smaller apartment. A month later, my mother sent a 4-page letter, her handwriting bringing tears before I read a word. "Dearest Emma," she wrote, "I've reflected on our family dynamics. We took your generosity for granted and placed unfair expectations on you. We should have asked, not assumed. I'm sorry." She noted Kevin's family had settled into a modest apartment, with him working part-time and Sarah teaching more hours. "We'd love to see you at Sunday dinner if you're ready." The apology was a balm, validating my stand. I attended dinner, nervous but hopeful. My parents were subdued but warm, my father admitting, "We were wrong to assume, Emma. It's your property." Kevin and Sarah skipped the dinner, but the kids' affection at my nephew's birthday party eased the tension. Months passed and family dynamics shifted. My parents began consulting me, respecting my boundaries. Kevin landed a full-time job and started a savings account, small signs of growth. At Thanksgiving, hosted in my apartment, he greeted me warmly, a tentative olive branch. In the kitchen, he apologized. "We were wrong to expect your duplex for free. It was a wake-up call. We're budgeting now, living within our means." He handed me a $1,000 check toward his debt, a gesture of accountability. I thanked him, moved by his sincerity. A year later, Kevin invited me for coffee, a rare one-on-one. In a quiet corner, he looked different, more grounded. "I was furious when you said no," he admitted. "But it forced me to face my choices. Sarah and I always had a safety net, usually you. Without it, we've learned to stand on our own." He handed me another check, his debt repayment ongoing. We talked for hours, unraveling years of resentment and misunderstanding. For the first time, we were equals, not locked in old roles. The duplex flourished, with tenants renewing leases and improving the property. Dr. Wilson's garden bloomed, and Michael and Lisa's repainted living room added value. I earned a promotion, negotiated confidently, and began researching new investments. My personal life transformed too. I prioritized reciprocal relationships, learning to say no without guilt. Hosting Thanksgiving, surrounded by family, I saw the fruits of my stand. Healthier dynamics, mutual respect, and Kevin's growth into responsibility. The duplex, once a source of conflict, became a symbol of transformation. Setting boundaries wasn't selfish. It was liberation, creating space for all of us to grow. Have you ever had to stand up to family expectations? Share your story below, and if this resonated, like and subscribe for more tales of courage and change.